You've probably heard that culture is more important than vision. And that's absolutely true. But the problem is, how do we create a vibrant, creative culture in our organization? If you're a leader, you need to understand how to create that kind of space for your creative team to reach their best work. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Phil Cooke, and welcome to this episode. We're going to talk about culture is more important than vision, and beyond that, how to actually create a creative culture. Let me remind you that we'd love to see you at my blog at philcooke.com. We appreciate you joining us on this episode, but always talk about it, share it with your friends. If you have people that are leading creative people, this is a great episode for you to share. And also, go online and rate us. Give us some comments, give us your thoughts about how we're doing, because it helps us go up in the ratings, plus how that helps us reach more people. So let's talk a little bit today about culture and how to create a creative culture in your organization. You know, I've known people over the years, I've worked with leaders who have this amazing, robust, vital culture in their organization. People feel really empowered to do amazing things. Then I've worked with other leaders over the years that their culture is absolutely toxic. I mean, when you walk on their campus, when you walk in their building, you feel the oppression. I'm not getting weird when I say that. You actually feel the oppression. And it's such a dramatic difference. And the impact it has on their team is absolutely overwhelming. So I believe that we need to create a culture where your team can do remarkable work. The truth is, so many leaders don't know how to create that kind of vibrant culture. So I want to walk you through 10 steps today that I think are really important for creating that kind of culture that will unleash the creativity and the talent and the skill of your people. Number one, if you're going to create a creative culture in your organization, you have to build stability. Stability. I know organizations and leaders that actually threaten their workers with the fact that, you know what, if you don't come through with that great idea, if you don't come through with this product, we're going to go out of business. Let me tell you, when you work with creative people, stability matters. They're not going to unleash their creativity. They're not going to feel comfortable exploring the possibilities if they constantly are worried about their job. The way to inspire them is to give them a vision for what could happen, not threaten them with losing their job or threaten them with losing their status or threaten them with losing their salary. I've been in meetings where leaders will look at their creative team and say, look, I'm going to have to cut your salary by 10% if we don't come through. That's not the environment you want for your creative team. Never, ever threaten your team with losing the business, losing the company, even if you might. I tell you, certainly I've been in situations where organizations are teetering on bankruptcy or teetering on a really tough space. And yes, the stakes were high, but a creative team needs stability. So don't threaten them. Don't let them. You're the leader. Take responsibility for where you are, and you don't necessarily have to let people know. You don't have to threaten them. You don't have to put them on the edge like that, because they're never going to grow if they're not in a stable environment. So number one, create stability. Number two, make the culture safe for creative people. I'll tell you, safety is so important. And that means don't let them live in an environment of constant criticism. Constant criticism. One of the things I love about Pixar, which is that great animation company that was founded by Steve Jobs, Ed Catmull, who's the president, shares in his book, Creativity Incorporated, that they have what they call the Brain Trust. The Brain Trust looks at every film. It's some of the founding members of Pixar. They look at every film, but they're not there to criticize it. They're there to inspire the filmmaker to go to another level. So it's about being positive, not being negative. And yet I know so many leaders that are constantly criticizing their team, or what's worse, they let other employees and other team members criticize each other. That kind of culture, where that builds backbiting, that builds an atmosphere of bitterness. You're never going to achieve anything great if you have that kind of culture. So creative people do not respond to criticism. Certainly they do things wrong. Certainly they miss the mark. Certainly there are plenty of things that need to be corrected and changed, but it doesn't happen by criticism. I don't even like the term constructive criticism. I'm not sure there is such a thing as constructive criticism. As a leader, you need to know how to lead them so they see the mistakes, they see the problems. It was Norman Vincent Peale, I think, in his classic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that said, you don't criticize people. You let them think it's their idea. You lead them to a place where they realize what's wrong and they step up to fix it, because when that happens, they will knock themselves out to make it right. So make it safe from a critical spirit, a critical environment. I once worked with a leader that just made a huge issue out of no talking behind people's back, no criticizing without them being in the room. In fact, we had a situation where one employee tried to set me up. She didn't like the changes I was making in her division, even though they were incredible changes as far as helping them get more money, help them get a greater salary, helping them get more tools. She just didn't like change. And so she actually set me up. She was very devious and set me up. And we had a meeting with the leader of the organization, and she brought all this up. And when I saw it, I immediately knew it was a lie. So I pointed out what was wrong about it. And we had other people verify that she was in a lie. And let me tell you, that leader fired the girl on the spot. And that immediately sent a message to everyone that lying about employees, creating chaos and dysfunction around employees, that's not the way to work. That is not the way to work. So create an organization that's safe, that people believe in each other. They trust in each other, because you're not constantly hammering and criticizing. Third, make sure your leadership team is on the same page. When you're creating a creative culture, there's a layer of leadership probably under you, particularly if you're at the top, of the pecking order, if you're the hierarchical leader, if you're the top person, man or woman, you probably have a team of leaders that your other members, your other employees answer to. Make sure they are all on the same page. One leader can throw a complete organization out of whack. They can get it out of sync, because if they're going in a different direction, it will take their division and the people that report to them in a different direction. So before I ever launch this attitude of creative culture, I want to make sure my leadership team, first and foremost, is on point, is on the same page I am, is moving in the same direction. So make sure those leaders, for instance, if you're in a church, it may be your communication director, your youth director, your missions director, your teaching staff, whatever the directors are under you, you need to make sure they're on the same page as you, because one being off, one leader going in a different direction will ruin everything. Number 4, allow for flexibility when it comes to your creative team. The truth is, creative people are not like accountants. They're not like lawyers. They're not like executives. They're not like the guys on the shipping dock, on the loading dock. And that's not to say anything negative about any of the other people in your organization. It's just that creative people, there's a mysterious world out there that they operate in. And I say give them some flexibility. I had an organization one time that hired a young designer, and he was amazing, but he was the antithesis of everyone else on their team. He had a mohawk. He had amazing amounts of jewelry on him. He had tattoos everywhere. And he made the other employees literally uncomfortable. He wanted to come in at different hours. He loved to work in the middle of the night. He wanted to dress up his little cubicle differently. He wanted to just do a lot of things that made the other employees uncomfortable. And they were going to fire him. But I stepped up and said, look, let's put him in a different building. Let's put him in a different space. Let him come in when he wants to. Let him create his space the way he wants it, made. And it didn't take but about 2 or 3 months for this designer to literally transform this organization. Just unleashing him and letting him do his thing. And you may, as a leader, you may have to do some things, create barriers or put him in a different area or a space from other employees if it makes them uncomfortable. But I say if they want to work different hours, let them. For me and my team, it's not about the hours you work. It's about getting the project done. Ultimately, you want to deliver. As Steve Jobs says, it's not going to be successful unless it ships. So we have to think in terms of what's the ultimate goal, not stupid things like adhering to policy and making sure they work in certain hours or make sure their habits are the same. I know one organization where they have probably 20 rules about your cubicle, what you could have in your cubicle, what you can't have in your cubicle. You know what? Let people have their space. Give them the freedom in their workspace to do whatever they want to do. Give them that flexibility, and you'll see it rewarded in the quality of work they do, and it'll create a vibrant culture. Number 5, get them the tools they need. One of the most important things, I think, is not to nitpick your team on tools. If you have a designer that needs a better computer, don't force your designer to work with an out-of-date computer with not enough hard drive space, that's got a slow processor, that doesn't have a monitor that's any good. You're only hurting yourself. I know we have budgets. I know we have to think about how much we spend in different areas. But the truth is, if you have a video person that's working with an outdated camera, that's not delivering a product you need. within the budget constraints that you have, and I think you should think about stretching those budget constraints if at all possible, give your team the tools they need. And it may not seem like a big thing to you. Maybe an assistant or maybe some other employee on the team, even an intern, may have a request about a notebook or a calendar or an app that you don't think is important. But the truth is, it would really accelerate the level of their work. Get it for them. Send them to conferences. Let me tell you something. Sending your team to conferences, that alone will inspire them because they'll interact with other people doing amazing work, and they'll see new ways of doing things that'll only reflect well on you. So the ultimate goal, remember, is not to create policies and rules and make everybody work the same. The ultimate goal is to deliver an amazing product or an amazing service, whatever it is your organization does. So really give them the tools they need so they can go out there and do amazing work. Number 6, push them out of their comfort zone. One of the things that I think a lot of leaders are afraid to do with creative people is they're afraid to interact. When I say give them space, when I say give them flexibility, then the leader thinks, well, maybe I shouldn't interact with them at all. But the truth is, leaders who are creative want to be pushed. They want to break new ground. They want to get out of the normal mundane. So you know what? Help them. Help them. Give them a vision they haven't thought of. Push them a little. Help them. Give them a reason to go out there and try some remarkable new things, and you'll see it rewarded back. I think it's so important when it comes to helping people. Pushing them out of the comfort zone is key. Number 7, give them space. Give them space. And by that, I mean, don't micromanage. Steve Jobs said a brilliant thing one time. He said, why do we hire smart people and then tell them what to do? You know what? We all know that micromanaging is a disaster. I really don't micromanage anybody on your team, but especially when it comes to creative people, don't micromanage. Give them the space to let them make decisions. Let them surprise you. Give them a challenge. Help them break the barriers of their thinking. Give them deadlines. Don't be afraid to do that, but help them move to a whole nother level and give them the space to do that. Number 8, and I want you to really write this down because I think number 8 is incredibly important, and that's understand the difference between your organizational structure and communication structure. Organizational structure is important. That's the boss. That's the leader. That's the manager. Everybody's in a different place in your organization, and your organizational structure is about who reports to who. And the truth is, you can't have a totally flat organizational structure because it'll end up being chaos. You do have to report to people. You have to evaluate people. You have to have elements in place that create a hierarchy in your organization. However, when it comes to communication structure, I just don't think people need to report to everybody in such a strict manner. I want people to talk to people. I'm the founder at Cooke Media Group. I'm the CEO at Cooke Media Group. But anybody that works with me, I want them to have access to me. You don't have to go through different people in our office. Just come to me. And it's true on a film set. You know what? I'll let a makeup artist or an assistant makeup artist, if they've got an idea they need to share with me, I want to listen. So always remember that your communication structure is not the same as your organizational structure. Let people talk. Let them cross-pollinate. Let your designers talk to your writers. Let your marketing people talk to your account executives. Whatever you have and whatever you're trying to do and whoever's in your department, let them talk to each other. Don't restrict how they go about talking to people and who they can talk to. Organizational structure is different from communication structure. And maybe someday we'll do an episode on just that issue because I think it's so unbelievably important. I've been to so many organizations where there were so many layers, and maybe from an organizational perspective that works. But when it comes to communication, nobody could talk to anybody, which means everybody's guessing, everybody's wondering, nobody's really sharing their ideas. They're holding back because they're afraid they'll get reprimanded for talking to the wrong person. Nothing could be more destructive in an organization. So understand that organizational structure is dramatically different from communication structure. Let people talk, let them share, let them communicate, let them interact. It's so very, very important. Number 9, walk the factory floor. Leadership expert John Maxwell, who is a great friend of mine, he talks a lot about walking the factory floor, which means go out there as a leader and talk to your people. If you have a creative team that works for you and you don't know them, you don't know their wives' names, their husbands' names, their kids' names, people who are significant to them, their birthdays, you need to know that. Go out there and interact. Get to know them. They need to be comfortable with you, and you need to be comfortable with them. You will never lead a great creative team if you don't interact with them. Walk the factory floor. Go into that creative space. Go into that design studio. Go meet your writers. Remember, here's the thing. Your creative team is taking your message, your vision, your strategy, your plan, and making it reach millions, potentially more people. How can they do that without knowing you intimately? How can they do that without understanding your heart and where that message comes from? I'm telling you, if there's any department in your organization, the creative team is the one group you need to spend a lot of time with. I'm a big advocate that leaders need to spend time with everybody and know everybody. One of the great stories, again, I mentioned Ed Catmull, the president of Pixar. I remember him saying that when he gave bonus checks out, when they did a film, Toy Story 2, or when they did Monsters, Inc., when they did a great film that made a ton of profit, they, of course, had all the participants on that film get a bonus check, which is great. But most leaders would have just emailed a note to them or had it direct deposited into their checking account or just had an assistant to go deliver checks. Ed Catmull has every single person on that team, which may number more than 100 people, come to his office, or he'll go to their office, give them the check personally, and sit and talk with them about it. He'll congratulate them. He'll appreciate what they do and encourage them. So when your team, they just need to be recognized. They really need to be recognized. And whenever you get that opportunity, whether it's giving a bonus check, maybe at Christmas, or giving a bonus check for a great job they've done, or just pick a day, or whether they've just done a project and finished it successfully, go take the time and interact with everyone personally. There's nothing more important for a leader in my book than having that kind of relationship with your team, because trust me, they will go to the mat for you when you go to the mat for them. It's very, very important. And finally, number 10, I would say give them credit. This is kind of an extension of number 9, but I think so many leaders, I see so many leaders that, their team does something amazing. Maybe they create a great ad, or maybe they create a great television program or some other creative product or a new logo or design. And then that leader takes it to the board or takes it to other people and he takes credit for it. Maybe he doesn't say he created it, but he said, that was my team. I inspired them to do great things. And you may have, but let me tell you, give them credit. Call them out by name. Let people know that that's your team. They did amazing work and you want them to know about it. Nothing will take the wind out of a creative person's sail quicker than someone else taking credit for their work. I've had it done to me, and I know just how frustrating it was that you work for hours. You work hours of overtime late at night to create this product, and then when you turn it over to the boss, suddenly it becomes his, and he takes all the credit for it. I'll tell you, you will undermine the effort of your team maybe quicker than any other way by doing that. So let them take credit for it. Let them have that moment of glory. And trust me, that glory will be reflected on you because it's your team. You're the leader. That's what I don't understand. It's only leaders who are insecure that take that kind of credit because they're afraid, oh boy, that person's going to get noticed. Maybe he's going to move up the ladder. Maybe, he'll end up leading me. Look, lose the insecurity. Let's go back to the Steve Jobs quote. Stop hiring smart people and then telling them what to do or taking credit for what they do. Let them fly. You hire talented people. Let them do your thing. And let me tell you something. It will reflect well on you. I know with many organizations, when we go in to consult or work with them, the leaders that we're working with, the ones that really look small, look petty, or often fail, are the ones that refuse to listen. Not that we have all the answers, but the truth is we're going in to help. And yet very often we'll deal with insecure leaders in that organization and they fight us, or they get frustrated, or they stop us, they throw obstacles at us, they refuse to listen. But in other organizations where their point person is listening, is paying attention, is working with us, engaging with us, working as a team, they end up looking like rock stars because they listen. And we implement what we did, and the glory reflects back to them. So you know what? Don't worry about being insecure. Don't take the credit for everybody's work because it will always come back to you. I'll tell you something. Creating a creative and really positive culture in your organization is one of the most important things you will ever do as a leader, because trust me, once that organization has that vibrant, creative, positive culture, it can almost run on autopilot because they're kind of coming up with ideas. And the truth is, it's not about the ideas in my book, it's about the people. Where do ideas come from? They come from people. They come from people. So if you put the right people in place, give them all of these elements and let them fly, you will look like $1,000,000 and you'll do remarkable things. Create that kind of culture in your organization and you will never regret it. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, my blog is philcooke.com, Cooke. Go check us out there and respond. Let me know the kind of subjects you want us to cover and the kind of issues you want to wrestle with on these episodes, because we believe that we want to respond to the things that you deal with every day. And again, share it with your friends. We would love to get the word out about each of these episodes, because we think they're so important to helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. Share it on social media, get it out there, because we think it can help people. I'll tell you, a creative culture will help you go from where you are to where you need to be faster than just about anything I know. Thanks for tuning in.